Hey, it's Jack, and today I'm going to show you this new thing I got here. First of all, I'm just going to show you how to change some strings um, on a Floyd Rose type setup because that's a little more difficult for some people. And I have this little device here that I'm calling a Tuna Block. It's something that I'm selling, and I'll show you a close-up of it afterwards. And it basically helps to get your strings back set up quickly, right in tune and all that stuff. So we're going to check that out. I'm going to zoom up on the guitar, and you'll be able to pick these up on my website, or you can send me a message if you're interested. Alright, so let's check it out. Okay, so now we see the setup here, and I guess there's a couple different ways. Generally, when I'm working on my guitar, I'm going to put pillows down. I usually put them down on a table, but because I'm shooting this video, I'm using these TV trays. But anyway, you can't say enough about taking care of not scratching the guitar, especially if it's someone else's guitar. They're not going to be happy if you mess up their guitar. And even if your guitar isn't like the prettiest thing, you still want to do this because whacking the guitar can put it out of tune or intonation and that kind of stuff. So it's just a good idea. So here's some of the things that we're going to be using. We've got a new pack of strings here. I'm going to try these Cobalts. I might do a review on these by themselves. But anyway, I use 9 gauge. Usually I use the Darios, but I'm going to check these out. I have my Allen key set, of course. This is a little thing that came from Ibanez. I didn't screw it to the back of the neck, though. I didn't feel like putting a hole in my guitar, but it's nice. It has all the Allen keys you might need. I'm going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to take off the back so I can get to the springs. And also, this is a very cool tool. I think it's Planet Waves. I think that's correct. Not only is it a string winder, but also it's a cutter. And it doesn't seem like this thing would cut very good, but it does. This little section here that has the arch on it, I don't know. I think that that's to stretch the strings. I don't use it for that, but anyway, it's a pretty cool tool. So first thing we have to do is remove the strings. So I'm going to put this stuff on the side. Okay, and for that, I'm going to be using this big Allen key right here. Now, the first thing I want to do is take the locks off on the nut. I'll move that over there. Let's zoom up here on the nut. Let's zoom up on this. Okay, well, I guess it's not zooming too much, but we're just gonna unravel these. Taking them off is not a big deal, but when you put them back on, you want to take care that you don't strip it. Otherwise, you'll be buying yourself a new nut, and you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take these off and set them aside. Okay. And then the next thing is the removal of the strings. So right here, so this is an Ibanez bridge. You may know, you may not know. Hold on a second. Let me see what I could do here.
How are we gonna do this?
That's a little better right there. Okay, so this is the Low Pro. I really like the Ibanez bridge, a little better even than the original Floyd Rose because the bar can just pull out like that. With a Floyd Rose, you got to wind it in. There's a lot of different ones. Most of them are the same idea, though. You have these blocks right here that hold the string in, and they're held by these screws here, and then these are your fine tuners. Sometimes these are reversed, and these screws will actually be sticking out the back. It's not the case on the Low Pro. But basically, all I'm going to do is dive the bar to take the tension off of the strings. And then I'm just going to take my Allen key and I'm going to loosen all these up. And all these strings are just going to pop out. Okay, real easy. And then I'm just going to put this back in. You know, it doesn't have to be super tight, but you don't want one of these little blocks to come out, which they will because you're going to be turning the guitar back and forth. Because you're going to have a hard time trying to find it if it does fall out. And the other good thing about holding the bar down here is that my Allen key is not going to hit the body of my guitar. But again, depending on how the configuration of your bridge is, that could change. Okay, simple enough. Okay, then I'm just going to come up here. Let's move the camera here. And wind it off. Now, I'm going to show you this when I do this, but you can see that I run the strings straight into the tuner. And you can see I still have the ball end on there. One of the complaints that I hear about Floyd Rose is that you got to cut the strings and it's a lot more work and all that, but I mean, I only cut them once just like everybody else cuts them. I guess some people may install strings and they leave them all curled up at the top of the neck, so in that case you wouldn't cut them, but for the most part I think this is the best way. There's not really a danger of the ball breaking off. I've never had it happen, and plus once you put these back in, it's locked down anyway, so that's it. So we're going to remove them, and then we'll get to the back and we'll see what we do there. Okay, so this is what the back of my guitar looks like. I think most of them are the same, but behind here, this is the controls for the control panel, and this is the wiring for the pickups, and this is where the springs are. So I'm just going to take these screws out here and remove them. Again, common sense, but when you're working with a screwdriver, you just want to really take your time and not put any extra pressure on something. You know, if one of these is really hard to come out, then something's wrong. But anyway, it's not too difficult for you to skip this right across the back and just tear up the guitar, which isn't a good idea. Okay, so this, I'll lose these screws here. Okay, so now we can see the inner workings here of the tremolo. Here's my springs. I've replaced, usually there's 3 springs here, or maybe 4. I've replaced my 3 45 millimeter with 2 52 millimeter, or 47 mil and 52 mil. I forget what it is exactly. And this is a thing that's found on the Ibanez. It basically locks down the springs so they can't pop out. And then here's your adjustment screws that you want to tighten up to make the string tension equal with the spring tension. That's what you're trying to figure out here. And then of course you have your ground that's soldered to the thing. So we're going to put the Tuna Block in a bit, but you can kind of see what it is here. We've got this block. If I turn it on its edge, it has this long piece that sits on top, and this sits behind. Actually, it sits in just like this in the guitar. Okay, and we're going to see a close-up after. And this is the adjustment screw on it. So basically what this is doing, it's occupying this space here so that when the strings are pulling the plate this way, they can't go past the level, and then you can tune your guitar as if it was a hardtail. And once the guitar achieves tune, if you're using the same strings, then this block will become loose and it'll come out. If you're changing gauge, then you're going to have to do an adjustment on the springs. Or if you get a guitar that maybe is not set up correctly. Or I may even have to do it even though I'm using still 9s. They're a different company, so I may get something different with that. But let's see if I can get it close up here. That's pretty good. So this is basically, I put my bar in here. This is basically what we're talking about here. You can see how the bridge angles, okay? And there's a little mark right down here on the side. Probably can't see it, but basically you want to find the point where you want to set the bridge so that it's level. Okay, then you have equal travel. Then when the strings are in tune, you want them to be that way. And what happens is when you tune the strings, the bridge starts to do this, and it keeps moving up because the strings are pulling on it. And what that block does is it holds the bridge in the perfect spot. Then you can tune the guitar, get it all straight, and everything's good to go. Okay? So, I'm going to do one string now real quick and just give you an idea of how I take care of this stuff here. Let's open this up. Okay, we'll start with the low string. If you don't know, the strings have numbers. They're on the package. They're in order. You don't want to mix those numbers up. Okay. So again, here's my ball end. And I'm just going to feed it straight in. First, I'm going to use this string winder here. It's a good idea to turn all these so they're straight up. I'm going to set my hole in the tuner so that it's facing down. If I could get it. Okay. And we're going to pull that like that. This is a string tree. The strings in the center have to go underneath there. Your guitar may or may not have that. Then what I'm going to do is, hold on. I'm going to come down here, okay, and here's my block right here, right, where the string goes into. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come a little bit further past it. You don't have to go very far. Sometimes I used to go like all the way back to this, but anyway, you could figure like a finger width if you want. And that's where I'm going to cut my string. Okay, I got to get my Allen key and the bar there. And let's put that back in. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen my Allen key here. I'm going to take my string and pop it in. I'll loosen a little more. There's the string sitting in there. Tighten it up. One note here, you see how the orientation I have of the Allen key? That's because I have no leverage with this short end. This is all you need. I'm like super panicking about stripping any of these screws or anything because it's a pain in the neck, especially if you're about to play. You won't be able to play even if you can get a new part. If I put the Allen key in this way, now I got way more leverage and there's more a chance that I'm going to do damage. And again, your mileage may vary, but I have never had a string pop out by tightening it this way. So that's just a note, okay? So you can see now my string is in there. If I could get the camera on. Oops. And it's loose, it's flopping. So this is my other little thing that I like to do. I'll take the string here, I'll set it in a nice spot, and I'm going to hold the string down like this. Okay, and I'm making up the tension back here. Probably can't see it as good, but anyway. Take my winder, and I'm just going to wind up the string until it's touching the fretboard. Just like that. Okay, now you can see the string is set all the way down. You want to make sure you're in the right spots and all that. And the bridge is still low, but I'm not worried about that right now. All I want to do is get all my strings in like that. Here's a close-up again of the head. You can see it's just wound around right in there, and it works fine. So I'm going to do the other 5 strings, and then we'll go see how we put the Tuna Block in and get this thing tuned up. Okay, so I got all 6 strings in. One thing that I also wanted to mention, if this doesn't blur out here, maybe if I turn it sideways, the ball needs to be on the top. So when you're winding the string around, make sure the string winds go below the ball so that it doesn't come up above the string. That just makes it for a nice, tighter installation. So now what I want to do is I want this bridge to be pushing way up here. I want the strings to be overcompensating. because when I put my tuner block in, it's going to pull it back to the right spot. So I'm going to overwind the strings right now. And another note is that because of the thickness, I guess it's because of the stretchability of the metal, I don't know what it is, but because of the thickness of the strings, it takes less movement to put the thicker strings into tune than it does the thinner strings. So in other words, if let's say I'm trying to tune the string to E and it's at D, I only have to go up a whole step. It might only take one turn of my tuning peg to get there, but if this string is on D, it might take 3 or 4 turns. Again, I don't know why that is, but it is. So what I'm going to do now here is on this end, I'm going to dive my bar and hold it down so that I'm not like stressing out the strings while I'm tightening them. And then on this end here, if I can get this in the picture, there we go. Let me move this like that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wind this one time, I'm going to wind this one twice, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times, because then it should be pretty even. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, again, that's just from my personal experience. Let me check here. We need to be a little bit tighter than that still. So we'll go again. 1, 1, 2. I'll go 1.5, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever. Okay. Now let's take a look at the bridge here. See how it's sticking up further than I want? That's perfect. Further than I want it when it's set, that is. Okay. Let's look at it from this side. This is the block, the sustain block, and basically this space here is what I'm going to take up with the tuner block. So again, I have my adjustment screw on here, and I've already set it because I know what you're going to have to set it the first time for your guitar to get it where you need it so that your your bridge rather, sits perfectly level. So there it is installed. I have, again, there's a little ledge to keep it there so it doesn't go sliding down and you can still grab it. And this is the set screw. Now it's in there. Now if I turn the guitar back around, I don't know if this is a better angle, but anyway, that's pretty good. You can see here, like I could dive the bar. I mean the bar, this is not going to move. It's like a fixed bridge right now. And this right here is exactly where I want it. It looks like it's sticking up, but that's because this bridge, the design of it is like a wedge. But trust me, this thing is perfectly level right now. So now I can go ahead. I'll see the whole thing came out here because I dove the bar. Okay. There it is. So now I can go ahead and tune my guitar the regular way like you would an acoustic or anything else. And once the guitar is in tune, then this block should just fall out because you're going to have perfect counter tension between your springs and the strings. We're going to see if that happens because I was just noticing here, where's that package of the strings? I was just noticing here that even though these are cobalts, you could see here it's 9 through 42, which is kind of a small gauge for an E string. Like I said, I've never used these before. I usually use the Darios, and I think those go to 46. So even if you're using the same gauge, if you change company, you may have to do it. Anyway, we know that when this block is installed, the bridge is where it needs to be. So if this is still tight, once I have the guitar in tune, that means I need to increase the tension of these springs. Okay? If the reverse happens, if it falls out before I get it in tune, then I have to decrease the tension. So, and the way that you do that is just by adjusting these two screws with a Phillips head screwdriver. It's real easy. Okay? So now I'm going to tune the guitar, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so now I'm going to tune the guitar. It's a bit all over the place. First I'm going to get each string close. You expect everything to be higher because that's what we did, right? My block's already moving because, like I thought, the gauge on these strings. Okay. Let me put this back in there. That's the thing, is that once you get close, then the block's going to kind of fall out, so you want to be careful with it. Now, if you're not familiar, you may be saying, well, why do I need the block? What happens is if you try to tune the guitar, the first string, you tune it to E, by the time you get all the way to the high string, then what happens is that string goes slack because the bridge moves. And now that string's flat, and then you got to tune them all over again and do it again and again and again. And you still have to do that a little bit with this, but it saves you a lot of time as far as for a beginning benchmark. So one thing to keep in mind is that as you tune the strings, I always start with the high string because, like I said, it takes more movement to put it out of pitch. So if both strings are going to move, I'd rather have the high string move because that's going to be less out of pitch, if that makes sense. And then when you tune the high string, you want to tune that higher, like say to a F instead of an E or something. And then as you go up, you keep tuning a little higher till you get to the low E. And then when you get to there, you check your other strings, and hopefully if the bridge has moved a little bit, then it all evens out. But I got a lot of my information, and I buy all of my parts for my Ibanez at Ibanez Rules. Rich's Ibanez Rules. It's a great website. It has lots of information. It can explain the general tuning process. If you're not familiar, again, this is not meant to replace that. It's just meant to give you a better starting position to speed the whole process up. So if I move my tuner out of the way here, and I'll show you the guitar here, you can see that this is not moving when I pull the block out. Okay, and that's gonna means that my bridge is exactly where I want it to be. Perfectly flat, strings are in tune. Now the problem is these strings are brand new, they're gonna stretch. And once they stretch, they're gonna go out of tune, that's gonna move the bridge, and you're gonna have all kind of problems. So I'll just show you real quick what I do. Let's put the camera on the guitar right now. There we go. That's good. There's probably several different ways to stretch strings. As I said, that winder tool here, I think that might be what this is for, but that's not what I use. Basically, this I do it because also it's like a double purpose. I get hand strength exercises at the same time. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to go to all my dots here, and I'm just going to bend the string. Okay, up to like the 15th fret and then back. Just kind of stretch it as far as you can. If you're just a beginner guitarist, this might hurt your fingers a lot. In that case, you can take the string like this and kind of run your hand up and down with it, pulling on it. You could see that. Or use something else, but to me this is the best way. The top three strings you want to pull down. And then push up. And so on. So I'm going to do that a couple times, run up and down the neck. I'm going to put the Tuna Block back in. I could give you a good picture of it. There it is. I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to tune the guitar once again. One other note that now I just remembered it is these fine tuning keys. Generally what I'm going to do is I'm going to back those things all the way out. This way I have the maximum amount of adjustment. So I didn't do that. I'm gonna have to tune the guitar again and do that. Um, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set it all back up with the Tuna Block. I'll get it straight, and then I'm going to lock down the nut, and I'll show you that, and we'll do our fine tuning, and hopefully we're good. You might also want to put your bar in, and before you go to tune it, just give it a dive and return it back up to what they call like a 0 point. I'll hold it like this, right? You put it down like that. Again, that's in the Ibanez rules instructions, so check that out. All right, let me do that, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've backed out my fine tuners. I've tuned the guitar. I've stretched the strings. I've tuned the guitar. And all this time, I'm going to keep this Tuna Block in there because this block is going to keep the bridge exactly where it's supposed to be. And that's the whole problem with the Floyd Rose. You start tuning strings, the bridge moves, and everything gets thrown out. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to leave this in the whole time. Now, how does this stay in? It stays in because the strings tension is holding this in place. Okay, the string is pulling on this block, which is pushing against the red, which is pushing against the body. So as long as the strings are tighter or overcome the spring tension, this block will stay in place. So what I did before I started here is I just backed off these screws like a half a turn, 3/4, a full turn, whatever. Just back them off just a little bit, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go through everything. You're going to tune it. Right now I'm going to put my nut screws back on and the clamps and lock that in. I'm going to tune it again. I'm going to fine tune it with the tuners. Then when I get everything straight, we're going to pull this block out, and then you just tighten these screws until the guitar comes back into tune, and then you're done. Hopefully. It works though, trust me. I've done it before. So let's put this right here. We'll move the camera here. Good job. And if I take the screw out and you take a look at this thing, you can see it has a little point on it, okay? And that point, you want it to be going this way. So the point is here, and side to side, it's basically like the roof of a house holding down two strings. When you put these screws in, make sure you take it easy and you don't destroy. You don't want to cross thread. So it wouldn't be the worst idea to keep track of which one of these comes out of the hole and put them back in the same hole. But, you know, as long as all the threads are good, you should be fine, but that's not the worst idea. Okay, I'm going to tighten them down. And then when you tighten this, you know, this is actually going to pull the string a little bit sharp. I know I said I don't put the bar in this way. I am going to, in this case, but I'm going to hold my fingers here. I'm not going to put my hand back here. Okay, and I'm just going to give it a quick turn, like a quarter turn, snug. Nothing crazy. That's going to keep it tight. Okay, again, let's put the camera back on the guitar. So now I'm dealing with these right here, the fine tuners. And it's not the worst idea to tune the guitar just slightly flat when you before you tighten down the lock nuts up here, those up there, because then you'll have enough room here to tighten them up. Usually they're gonna, you know, you can do what you want as far as stretching the strings. You could stretch and stretch. Sometimes I'll play a couple of songs without even putting these up here on, because then that really stretches the strings out and you won't have to. But the other thing you could do is you could play a couple, then you use your wrench, you open it up again. You know, basically what I'll do is I won't put this back on for a little bit. But once you get them in tune, especially the Ibanez, I think, then it's straight. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out the Tuna Block, okay, and I'm going to check my tuning. and now I'm just a little bit flat. So I'm gonna grab my screwdriver here. Now you got to be careful that you're not, moving the tremolo bar while you're checking your tuning. And I'm just gonna give like a quarter turn on each one, tightening again, tightening the strings, which the springs claw, which pulls the strings a little tighter. Okay, I'll just do it again here. Keep going like a quarter turn. You want to do it even on both sides. Getting closer. But again, normally you have to kind of guess, tune, and then the string that you already tuned goes out of tune. Now I'm pretty much there. And that's it. It's a lot easier that way. Okay, so again, um, I'm basically, selling these tuna blocks. You may or may not be interested in it. And even if you're not, hopefully this helped you out as far as learning how to tune and change the strings on the Floyd Rose. Um, Again, you can go to my website, guitarordinaire.com. If you have any questions about anything, I might have left something out, definitely let me know. I want to have all my videos to be complete. And check this out. I got my Magic Wonder Wheel up there that you can get to that helps you with the major scales, all kind of stuff. And send me requests if you have anything on theory or any kind of guitar lessons or songs that you are interested in learning. Thanks.